"Sir, can I get $50 to buy my mom's medicine?" And in that moment, a city's heart was tested. The sky over Makola was heavy with heat. The kind of heat that made the air thick, slow, and full of sighs. It was noon, and the streets buzzed with life. Women calling prices of okra and yam, buses honking in stubborn rhythm, preachers shouting truths only they understood. But amidst the chaos, near the entrance of Sapphire Towers, the tallest and most expensive building in the district, stood a boy, barefoot, but with eyes like wet glass. Kweku was 10, but life had already taught him lessons that bent his back and hardened his hands. In his torn school shirt and patched shorts, he didn't belong among glass doors and gold logos. Yet there he stood, not begging for food, not asking for a ride, but clutching a faded envelope with a hospital stamp and the name Fuaj, scribbled in blue ink. Inside the tower, Mr. Obinna, billionaire, real estate king, and founder of Obinna Holdings, was finishing a conference call. He spoke in the tone of men who owned buildings and futures, his words sharp, his fingers faster than his tongue. Outside, Kweku waited. He had tried 3 times that morning to enter the building. The security guards had laughed the first time. The second time they ignored him. The third one had threatened to beat him. But he waited anyway because his mother had said, "When a door won't open for your feet, let your faith knock louder." And so he stood. At 2:17 p.m., a black Range Rover pulled up, and the guards straightened. A man stepped out. Sharp suit, dark glasses, 2 phones. The kind of man who made the air nervous. Mr. Obinna. As he walked past, Kweku ran forward. Not with desperation, but with courage, the kind only a child with nothing left can carry. "Sir," he said. "Please, sir. Can I get $50 to buy my mom's medicine?" Mr. Obinna didn't stop. But his stride paused for a fraction of a second. His right foot hesitated just enough. He didn't look at the boy. But something flickered in his chest. Memory. Then he walked on. The guards shoved Kweku back. One slapped the envelope from his hand. The paper floated, like broken wings. That night in the gutter behind the pharmacy, Kweku lay curled beside Mama Efua. Her body was trembling. Not from fever, but from what the nurse called the forgetting sickness. She was forgetting words, faces, sometimes even how to eat. But she never forgot Kweku. Even in her worst moments she whispered, "My son, strong like river stone." They had been staying behind the city pharmacy in an alley where the owner sometimes gave them expired bread. At night, rats scurried, and Kweku tied string around his wrist and his mother's, so she wouldn't wander. He had tried everything. Selling groundnuts, polishing shoes, washing windscreens. But $50 might as well have been the moon. That night she coughed blood. And Kweku, with tears dry from exhaustion, prayed the kind of prayer that children make when they've stopped believing adults will help. The man who couldn't sleep. In his penthouse suite, Mr. Obinna stared at the city lights. His bedroom was large enough to fit 10 families. But peace wasn't for sale. He kept thinking of the boy. He tried to distract himself, made calls, read reports, scrolled through the latest acquisition numbers. But the image returned. Child's eyes. Envelope. The question. "Sir, can I get $50?" Why did it bother him? He had seen hundreds of beggars. Thousands even. Had built entire towers over neighborhoods where children once played. Had grown numb to suffering. But this boy, there was something in his voice. Not pity. Not manipulation. Just truth. Obinna got up and poured himself whiskey. The ice clinked like bells from an old memory. A memory buried in the clay soil of his own childhood. The old woman at the market. The next morning, Kweku went to Makola Market to beg Yemi the herb seller for any plant that could help his mother. Yemi had watched over Kweku since he was a toddler, back when Mama Efua was still strong and sold Kent fabric from a roadside stall. "You're running too fast for your feet, child," she said, stirring a pot of bitter roots. "You are 10, not a man." "But men don't cry behind dumpsters," Kweku replied quietly. He paused. What did you do yesterday? I tried the tower. I saw the man. The one they call Money King. I asked him for help. Yemi raised her brow. And he walked away. But I think something stopped him for 1 second. Maybe God caught his shirt. She smiled. Maybe. Then she handed him a small bottle. This won't heal your mother. But it might hold death back for 1 more day. He nodded. 1 more day is enough. The unexpected visit. At 11:02 a.m. the next day, a white SUV stopped outside the alley behind the pharmacy. 2 men in suits stepped out. Kweku, who was washing his mother's clothes in a plastic bucket, looked up. Is your name Kweku Ajay? One asked. He stood up slowly. Yes. You're to come with us. Why? The man didn't answer. We won't harm you. The car is waiting. Kweku turned to look at his mother, who was asleep, her chest rising unevenly. Then he tied the string around her wrist, kissed her forehead, and followed the strangers. They drove in silence. When the gates of Sapphire Towers opened again, it felt like a different world. Test. Inside the conference room on the 34th floor, Mr. Obinna looked at the boy who had haunted his thoughts. You, he said. You asked me for $50. Kweku nodded, heart pounding. Why not ask someone else? Because no one else looks like they have $50. Obinna almost smiled. Almost. He placed an envelope on the table. There's more than $50 in there. But I have a question first. Kweku waited. If I give you this, and tomorrow your mother still dies, will you come asking again? Kweku looked straight into the man's eyes. No, sir. If she dies, then I will carry her memory instead. Silence. Obinna pushed the envelope toward him. But just as Kweku reached for it, Obinna added, Wait, 1 more thing. I want you to come back in 3 days and tell me what you did with the money. Every coin, every step. I want to see if truth can still walk in this city. Kweku nodded. Then, almost as an afterthought, Obinna asked, What's your mother's name? Kweku answered softly, Efua Ajay. That name struck Obinna like thunder. His hand froze midair. Efua, he whispered. From Teshi. Yes, Kweku said. You knew her. But the man said nothing. His eyes clouded. His past rattled. Take the money. Go. Back in the alley. Yemi helped administer the medicine. The nurse gave 2 more injections on credit. Mama Efua stirred. She opened her eyes and smiled faintly. Kweku, she said. You didn't run from the storm. No, Mama, he whispered. I found the eye of it. She slept again, this time not in pain. That night 2 men slept restlessly. In the alley, Kweku dreamt of stars holding hands. In his penthouse, Obinna dreamt of a girl he once loved long ago by the red river of Teshi. A girl named Efua, who had vanished from his life when he chose power over heart. He sat up at 3 a.m. and stared at the ceiling. Could it be? Had life brought him face to face with a truth he had buried under skyscrapers? When the truth knocks, will you open the door, or pretend you didn't hear it? 15 years ago, Teshi village. The river ran red that evening, not with blood but with sunset. Birds cut across the sky like blades. And beneath the mango tree by the old fishing dock, 2 teenagers sat with knees touching and dreams spilling from their mouths like palm wine. Obinna, she whispered, her voice as soft as ripened shea butter. If we leave this place, promise you won't forget me. I'll never forget you, he replied, his eyes full of tomorrows. We'll build a life where rain never leaks through the roof, where food finds us before hunger does. Fua smiled. But what if the city changes you? Obinna laughed. No city can change love. But cities have long memories. And short loyalties. Obinna left with a scholarship to Accra. Efua stayed behind with a secret growing inside her. And in time, silence became their only language. Back to the present, Obinna's office. Obinna sat alone in his private lounge. The lights were dim. A record played soft high-life music in the background. His assistant had confirmed it. Efua Ajay of Teshi. Single mother. No husband on record. Sick for years. Son named Kweku. A storm had settled in his chest. Could he have a son? No, she would have told him. Wouldn't she? But what if she had tried? And he had been too rich, too distracted, too full of himself to listen. He had once promised to build her a house with her name on it. Now she was dying behind a pharmacy. In the alley, Mama wakes. The fever had broken slightly. Efua could speak again, though her voice was frail. Mama, Kweku said softly. I got the money. A man helped us. A man named Obinna. The name jolted her. Her hands trembled. Obinna from the towers. Yes. She turned her face away. I didn't want you to meet him like this. You know him. She nodded slowly, as if the air had become too heavy. He's your father. Kweku sat in silence. He had asked a stranger for help. And the stranger was his blood. Across the city. Obinna visits Yemi. The next morning, dressed in plain clothes, Obinna returned to Makola Market. Yemi blinked in disbelief. You're the man who built the towers. What are you doing here? I'm looking for truth, he said simply. And you're the only one who seems to sell it. She wiped her hands on her wrapper. Then sit. Truth has legs, but she doesn't run for free. They sat under her stall as customers passed. He told her everything. The girl he had loved, the boy who had come begging, the envelope, the aching question. Yemi listened without blinking. Efua was proud, she said. She never begged. Not even when the world spat in her face. Why didn't she tell me? She said you had become a god. And gods don't answer letters from mortals. Obinna looked down. And the boy. He is more you than you know. But his heart, that belongs to her. The letter never sent. That night, as Kweku slept, Mama Efua pulled an old metal box from under a broken mattress. Inside were school photos, hospital bills, and a stack of unsent letters. All addressed to Obinna, none ever mailed. She handed them to her son. I didn't want to shame you, she said. I thought if he ever came back, it would be for love. Not guilt. Tears fell from Kweku's eyes onto the paper. You gave him a chance, Mama. He just didn't take it. A father's visit. 2 days later, Obinna returned. This time no car, no suit. Just a brown shirt and his old sandals. He walked into the alley alone. Kweku stood between him and his mother. No longer just a boy, but a protector. Why are you here? Obinna didn't flinch. Because I should have come a long time ago. Efua looked up, tears forming. I thought you forgot me. I forgot myself, he whispered. But I never forgot the river. Or the mango tree. Or the way you said my name like it was a prayer. Silence. Kweku stared at them both, as if seeing pieces of himself forming in real time. Then Mama Efua coughed, and blood came again. The final storm had begun. The hospital room. Obinna used his influence to get her admitted into the city's best clinic. The same night she fell into a coma. Machines hummed. Tubes breathed for her. But her body was letting go. Kweku never left her side. Obinna sat on the hallway floor, head in his hands, the weight of regret pressing into his bones. Yemi came and sat beside him. This isn't your punishment, she said gently. It's your invitation. To finish what you never started. The DNA test came back positive. 99.9% match. Obinna now knew without doubt. Kweku was his son. But what did that mean to a boy who had grown up in alleys? Could money buy back lost years? Could wealth erase pain? He wasn't sure. Mama's last sunrise. 3 days later, as the sky turned orange with the first light, Efua opened her eyes. Kweku was holding her hand. Obinna stood at the foot of the bed. She looked at them both and smiled. Soft, broken but peaceful. My 2 boys, she whispered. Rest, Mama, Kweku said. I already have, she replied. Then with one last breath she was gone. The funeral by the Red River. Obinna insisted she be buried in Teshi, beside the old mango tree. The whole village came. Yemi wore white and led the singing. Kweku placed a necklace made of river stones on her grave. And Obinna, he stood in silence, tears carving new lines into his face, and whispered the words he never said. I loved you, Efua. I never stopped. The offer. After the funeral, Obinna knelt in front of his son. I know I can't fix the past, but I want to build a future. With you. If you'll let me. Kweku looked at him, then at the river, then at the sky, and finally said, I don't want a rich father. I want a real one. Binna nodded. Then let's start there. To be continued in part 3. The house she dreamed of. Where a boy becomes a man, and a broken family finds its way home. Some promises are made in whispers, but only fulfilled with the strength of a life. 1 month later. Sapphire Towers, Conference Room 12C. Kweku stood in front of 20 executives in clean clothes and polished sandals. Not because anyone told him to, but because his mother always said, even if the world calls you poor, never dress like you've given up. He cleared his throat and began. This is how I spent the $50. The room was silent. No one interrupted. Not even Obinna. Flashback. The breakdown of $50. $12 for Mama's emergency injection. $5 for pain medicine. $10 for the overnight nurse. $8 for clean water and food while she recovered. $5 for second-hand bedsheets for warmth. $2 for a taxi when the fever became too high. $3 for a new scarf Mama had always wanted but never asked for. $5 Kweku gave to another child behind the pharmacy. Because someone helped me too, he had said. I didn't waste it, he finished. I didn't use it for myself. I used it for us. Obinna stood up, walked across the room, and placed both hands on his son's shoulders. You taught me the value of money, he said softly. And the greater value of love. The will that changed everything. A week later, news broke across the city. Obinna Holdings appoints 10-year-old son as future heir, names community school in memory of Efua Aj. But Kweku didn't care for the headlines. He asked only one thing, that his mother's dream come true. She used to say, I want a house with a kitchen that smells of stew and hope, where the floor is warm, and the door never slams in anger. So Obinna took him back to Teshi, to the land of the river and the mango tree. The building begins. Took 6 months. Yemi oversaw the kitchen design. Local artisans carved symbols into every doorframe, symbols of protection, unity, and remembrance. The floor was made of red clay, mixed with palm oil, as Efua had once wished. A giant wooden plaque was hung at the entrance. Efua's home, where no child sleeps hungry. But the house was not just for Kweku. It became a shelter, school, sanctuary. Obinna funded it fully, but made sure every villager had a hand in building it. Because legacy is not built alone. The boy becomes a son. At night, Obinna would read to Kweku. Not to impress him but to know him. They talked about rivers and history. About loneliness and laughter. About fear. One night Kweku asked, Why didn't you come for us sooner? Obinna hesitated, then said, Because I was building things with bricks, but not with my heart. And now I'm learning. Kweku leaned on him. Good. I'll teach you. And he did. 1 year later. A story told under the mango tree. Children now gather under the same tree where Obinna once made a promise to a girl with fire in her eyes. They hear the story. Of a woman named Efua who raised a warrior without wealth. Of a boy who stood in front of a tower and asked for $50. Of a man who forgot who he was, until a child reminded him. And of a house where love finally came home. Yemi, now the elder of the village, finishes the tale every time with the same words. Never mock the child who knocks on your door. He may be carrying the key to your soul. Final scene. A silent moment by the river. Kweku stands where his mother once stood, looking out at the Red River. A gentle breeze touches his cheek. In his hands is a wooden carving, a small heart with the name Mama Efua on it. He throws it into the water, not to let her go, but to let her fly. Behind him Obinna watches, quiet, present, father not a boss. Kweku turns. Are you ready to go home? Binna nods. Only if you lead the way. And together, father and son walk toward the house she dreamed of. Moral of the story, African folktale style. Riches may build towers, but only love can build homes. A single child's truth can change a king's heart. And the past, no matter how buried, always finds its voice. Would you like a description for YouTube, 12 image prompts for visuals, or story broken into subtitles for narration?